Hello there. We're here to tell you that we have so much more to offer you now at our Mixed Tees store. Not just t-shirts and hoodies, but we do have plenty of those, and new designs for that matter. You can also get mugs, and of course our brand new limited Amber Turds stained blanket. That's right, just for your bed or wherever you need it. So head on over to Mixed Tees now and get all your apparel and goodies from Midnight's Edge.
Entertainment news today. You're such a dragon gay. Everything sucks and it's no good. That comes out of Hollywood. But there's one place you can go to get all your news and info, and maybe even have a laugh or two. You know it's true. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark. But MEAD never stops. We will keep going through the night as we keep up the culture fight. Midnight's Edge after dark is life. We stand for nerds and geeks, we will survive. From Star Wars to Jurassic Park, it's Midnight's Edge after dark.
Greetings and good evening and welcome to Midnight's Edge After Dark Live, your favorite show on the YouTubes, whether you like it or not. I can hear myself.
I'm coming through the wrong mic.
Well, you're coming in on the right
Yeah.
mic, but I can hear myself echoing in the background, like through your speaker or something. You're coming through the wrong speakers, I think. Anyway.
Now it sounds
okay.
good.
Hello, CC Karaoke. We have a pair of Canadians here. A bunch of Canucks.
Mm-hmm.
How you doing, Script Doctor? Welcome back. It's been forevers.
It's been too long, but I'm so happy I got like an early night off. It's for a short period, but I'm happy to be here.
You showed up on a doozy of an evening, I'll tell you what. We're going to talk about some Superman news and some other business.
Okay, cool.
Stuff you may have a thing or two to say about, but we only have you for a limited schedule, so that's why we're actually slightly early tonight. So Price of Reason, you're not late. Welcome to the program. How you doing?
I think
I think you're taking us all by surprise here. We're coming in with audio issues because we're used to dealing with this before the show, but we're already live.
I know. Well, I knew Script Doctor didn't have long, so I wanted to get the show going as soon as possible. We heard you for a second, then Price, and then you dipped out.
Oh, is this my regular mic or is it the?
It sounds like the wrong mic.
Sounds like the camera mic, yeah.
Okay, I'll be back in a second.
Sounds good. We also have Price of Reason, as you just saw. How's everybody doing out there? We've got Flying Blind on a Rocket Cycle, gifting 5 memberships to 5 lucky folks. And we also have him here for 3 months already. Thank you for that. We appreciate that. And FKHC 2005, sending in his love, as he usually does, for Clobbering Times. Thank you for that. And for the toonie, as they call it up in Canada, because they're weirdos.
Well, it's 2 loonies.
Yeah, you and your loonies. You're all Looney Tunes, all right.
Yes,
and then we got Price back here. Let's hear you.
Hey, does it work now?
Now you're on the right mic. Welcome, sir. How you doing tonight?
Good. How's it going?
Oh, good. We're just getting things rolling here. We're saying hello to all the folks in the chat. We got Jeremiah Hembry sending in $2 as well, saying The Rock has a movie about Kim. Can we talk about it? I'm not sure what Kim you're talking about, unless you're talking about this movie about where his name isn't Kim in it though. It's a different kickboxer or something like that. I'm not really aware of it all that much. The Smashing Machine, is that what you're talking about? You'll have to let me know if that's what you're talking about.
Does he play The Rock in this one?
Yeah, right. Speaking of Rock, we have Nick in the house.
Hey,
Get doing his blackface.
Yep.
that's right. I'm still
It's a
trying to get
void.
this BLM grip going. I trip.
We have Goddess of Whim here. Speaking of rock as well, talking about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So it's you're just in time here. She says for 10 very generous dollars. Thank you, Goddess of Whim. That's super generous of you. Says the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is inducting Outkast over Fish and Billy Idol. Fish and Idol both had over 300K votes on the fan poll. Rock and Roll is officially unalived. Yeah, what the hell is Outkast doing on there?
Yeah.
He ain't
that's
rock
weird.
and roll.
I mean, they're great. They're not
Hey,
rock
yeah.
and roll, but they are great.
They're not rock and roll. All right. Or wait, that's the other guy. Or is that the right one? I don't even know any fucking more. It's like rap dance shit. That's all I know. What the fuck is that shit doing in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame? Isn't there a rap Hall of Fame already?
Because nowadays everything is everything.
The only rap group that belongs in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is Run DMC
Yep.
and maybe, just maybe, Beastie Boys and, well, obviously Beastie Boys and what's Ice-T's a group because they actually play instruments?
Body count.
Body Count. Yeah. That's probably the only 3 technical rap groups I could think of that actually belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. But there's plenty of others before them, I would say.
I mean, the Rap Hall of Fame's in Oakland, and that gets robbed and burned down like every other week. So
That's not even funny, and I'm laughing. Shit. Going to hell for
I'm just
that
making that up. Like, there's no
one.
Rap
I
Hall
hope
of
so.
Fame. That's not good enough to get a Hall of Fame. I mean, if
It
it's good enough to
should. I'm not gonna
expand
take it
to
away
other
from it.
genres. I mean,
Maybe Grandmaster Flash. Yeah.
No, listen. Rap is its own genre, and I respect it. But I do think that the idea of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, that was supposed to be rock and roll, and then they kind of made it a lot of other genres. And
a musical Hall of
right, they
Fame.
made it just like a music Hall of Fame, and really they've kind of cheapened the whole brand of what they were doing. But they had no choice if they wanted to survive, because the whole idea of rock and roll has been sidelined in music, mainly because it was a predominantly straight white male genre, and they wanted that gone. So they quietly did their kind of, nobody talks about this, but what do you see
rock and roll
today?
is from Black culture.
What'd you say?
Rock and roll comes from Black culture as well. Like,
That's
it's
the funny part. It does. Chuck Berry, Jimi Hendrix.
Yep.
Yeah.
No doubt. But these days, most of the rock bands that, like, I don't even know if they exist anymore. But I mean, when they started phasing them out, they were a lot of white guys. I'm not saying that black people aren't, part of the foundation, a very serious and significant part of the foundation of rock and roll. But I'm just saying that over the years, they kind of shifted their focus to rap. White musicians focused more on rock, and these days they don't even give Grammys for rock albums. They actually they do it before the ceremony. There's like a secret room where they invite people, they give them an award, and then they make them exit through the back so that you never see them again, and nobody talks about them at the ceremony.
And Neil Young just gets an award every year. They don't even try. They just give him the award.
And
What I'm hearing
Neil Young
contextually-
is an overrated fossil
That was my
fart,
point.
in my opinion.
That was
But
my
yeah.
point.
So
Yeah.
what I'm hearing subtextually is that white people did rock and roll so well that we had to guilt ourselves out of the attention of it.
Basically, yeah. Like, because the short version is, yeah, that rock and roll. I mean, there's a few white people in there, but ostensibly it was created by Chuck Berry,
Mhm.
Little Richard, and Buddy Holly. Those are the 3 main pillars of rock and roll, if you ask me.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
a lot
they're
of blues artists that go in there. There's a lot of other people that go. Don't get me wrong, I'm missing a lot of
I'm
huge
glad.
names, but
I'm
those
happy
are
to
probably the
give them.
3 main pillars, like that built it. But yeah,
Give them all the recognition in the world.
and then Elvis brought it to the masses. Yeah.
I think that, all the black people that were involved in creating rock and roll and all the blues and thing that led up to it, they should all get recognized, and they should get recognized through the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just don't know why they made it. I mean, I know why, but I think that they ruined it by making it about so many styles of music and just kind of letting in anybody now.
Here's another one who's responsible for early rock and roll, Chubby Checker. Yeah, finally going in.
Twist,
That's
Limbo.
come on, baby. Hell yeah, he's one of the early ones too. Oh, and what's his face? The guy who did Blueberry Hill.
Oh,
I found my thrill. What's his name?
no,
Shit.
I lost it.
You know who I'm talking about, though.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Damn
I'm
it.
gonna have to Google it now. That's how
He's got like 4 or 5 or so of those hits in that era that were really big. Fats Domino. That's yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you. Fats. Yes. Yeah. BB King and then you got the other guys, you know, that came in later. Like you said, Jimi Hendrix was probably more responsible for the heavy metal rock and roll sound than anybody.
Mhm.
Because I mean,
He
he's
was
the
a
first
game
guy
changer.
who got really too close to a fucking amplifier and goes, "That sounds pretty good." And then he just kept going. So anyway, let's see what else is going on here. We got Soul Nightmare who sends in $20 altogether, so 2 super chats. Says, regarding the Superman leak, the alleged source is My Time to Shine Hello, who drags gun at any chance. However, they made no such post or reference of this rumor. And I read a detailed leak of the Thunderbolts PCS. It said Sentry was linking the MCU with Fantastic Four, Doom, and Leader Steal Him. Lo and behold, it wasn't real, as evidence was the scene leaking today. Okay, so the
is this
last
like
part.
a Mike Zero type.
Yeah,
Well,
I don't know
my
about
time to
that.
shine. Hello, I strongly suspect is one of those people that manages to get a couple of like test screening slots every few months, and then he leaks the stuff that he knows, and
I
then
think it's technically a girl, but yeah.
he or she, whatever. They basically are like throwing as much stuff out there to see what sticks, and
yeah, because they've got like a few, and usually they're scoops that seem to be more accurate or come from the Marvel side
yeah.
of things. So it seems to me that if they do have any inside track to anything, it's usually Marvel related. Because yeah, nothing they've ever said that outside of that has really panned out that I've noticed.
I
Now-
rate them at like 45% accurate.
Yeah, we've had some other people since then come out and say that this is supposedly true, but I have yet to hear them say what their source is. Right? Like the guy from Den of Geeks supposedly said it, but he
Don't believe anyone from the den of a geek or nerd. or
yeah,
anything,
that's what I'm
girl.
saying. Like, nobody has cited any source outside of My Time to Shine, and you're right, Soul Nightmare. I have not really seen them referencing it. To be honest with you, when we did the video today, I didn't even think to look for their initial tweet. To be honest with you, I don't even know why that got past me. But like, honestly, like, there's part of me believes that this could be true, but I think we're misinterpreting it. We're going to get into this. This is kind of the main topic of the day. So why don't you hold that thought? Because, yeah, we'll get into this in just a minute here. Axicom says, who put the bump in the bump, she bump, she bump. More like who put the hip in the hoppity hoppity hop. That's what it is anymore. And demonetized. Well, as you see, I also changed Nick's face. So now he's 32 flavors of Blackwiser. So there you are, Nick. I hope you enjoy your new name.
Love it.
Well,
Never felt blacker.
now you got to move to Chi-Town.
Dude, right? I'm going straight back to Chirac. That way
Chirac.
I can be a movie. I can make a movie called Straight Out of Chirac.
Straight out of Chirac, a crazy motherfucker named Nick Weiser. He got all the flavors and you don't know any wiser. I don't know.
Wow. I could have not come up with that. So that was good.
Go 141 no sends in 20 Mexican dollars or pesos. Somebody has told me that's pesos, even though somebody else told me it's dollars. So I don't know. It says, Tom, when will you sing Rock and Rock McDonald's? I have to get re-familiar with that one. I kind of vaguely remember that advertisement. Really vaguely. So I'd have to go back and find it. But you never know when it could come up. I always come up with some weird shit. And then Marks 47 says member for 48 months. Thank you so much. And then we got Goddess of Whim, who's been one for 48 months as well. Holy crap, Oli. And Karaoke of CC's has been a member for 31 months as well.
Everyone else was doing it, so I had to jump on board.
You just fall into peer pressure. Typical Canadian. Typical Canadian.
Yeah, that's what we do.
Yep. And until you push us way too far.
And then David Rose is like CB4. Yeah, but CB4 was technically doing a satire of NWA. Yeah. Kitty Bear says, or sends in a super sticker for 99 euros.
Poop
Let's see what
emoji.
it is.
Poop.
It's a poop emoji. He's the only one other than Six who usually sends me pooper stickers, but you never know. They come flying in sometimes when I say that. So, but they're usually welcomed. If you're gonna fling poop, fling pooper stickers.
Mhm.
That's the way I see it. So, all right, since we've already wasted enough time of scripts and he has very little, I want to get your.
It's not a waste of my time. It's valuable. I view being here as valuable.
True, but I mean, I know we only have so much time with you, and I wanted to get into this, and this has already been a part of the super chats.
Cool.
The big Superman rumor going around. So let's talk about this. I don't know what everybody's feelings are on this. Like I said, we kind of already introduced it. There's a few people out there saying it now, but I have yet to have anybody say it from any other source other than My Time to Shine. And as pointed out by Soul Nightmare, maybe they didn't even say it in the first place now. Who knows? But it's out there now, and there's people who are buying it as credible. Let's start with Script Doctor. Do you find it credible? Do you believe this? Do you think that this is real? If so, what do you think it's the reason for it is?
Sure. So I know someone who has actually seen the test footage, and they shared with me quite a bit. Not a single thing was mentioned about a social media campaign against him. Doesn't mean it wasn't there, just might not have been in that cut, or might have been so passive that it wasn't a big point. There is a moment where Superman feels like his efforts are not, it's not that his efforts are being appreciated. It's the fact that he wants to do good, but the whole world doesn't like his method. And, the method of that point is like kill your enemies, don't give them a chance, no chance of redemption, kind of a very shoot from the hip, to heck with caring about other people, stop the villain at any cost type of thing, a Maxwell Lord type of issue. And Superman doesn't believe that. And that's where some of the controversy comes. Now, do I believe that a Lex Luthor character would use social media to try and get underneath the impenetrable skin of Superman? 100%, because he's done propaganda against Superman before in comics and in other live action and television, cartoon and live action shows. So that makes sense. I just don't think it's going to be the big plot point for it if it is used. You guys did a great video where you talked about how James Gunn was using incels and simps for the Sons of Themyscira in Creature Commandos, which was kind of funny because isn't it funny that you have a whole bunch of guys who are disenfranchised, go on Reddits, complain, what have you, and then they simp and talk about how women are evil, then they simp for like one of the most beautiful women in the DC universe, all to get onto an island full of women, hoping that they have a shot, but they don't, because it's not about the women excluding men. It's about the fact that no matter where they go, they'll never be appreciated, and they're used as cannon fodder. Like, that was funny, I thought. I know a lot of people didn't interpret it as that. That's fine. I did. I dug the joke. So yeah, listen, I mean, use every faculty you can in a story like this if you want to create drama, or at least create a real world. And you already have a guy like in that shot there behind Superman holding up his smartphone, videotaping him. So clearly there's going to be something going on with social media in the background. I wonder if Jimmy Olsen's character will play into it a little bit. But again, from the one person I know who has definitely seen a test screening, they did not mention super shit or any type of social media campaign. It was definitely not on the forefront of their minds when they were sharing with me some of the fascinating plot points of this movie, which has got me fairly excited. I hope what they saw and what they recited to me was accurate, because again, some people can watch a movie and have it walk away from it with a completely different interpretation than what I might interpret. So I have to wait and see for that. I'm not dismayed by it, because again, James Gunn has a very strong track record. He knows how to pull the heartstrings of audiences. He knows how to make light of dark situations. And I've actually even doing so got him not necessarily banned from Twitter, but it got Alan Horn to overstep his authority and fire him from Marvel. And then Alan Horn got fired from that because James Gunn went over to Warner Brothers, and then they had to beg him to come back for Guardians 3.
I mean, I have nothing good to say about My Time to Shine Hello. I think that, for the most part, I think that that person, whoever that is kind of annoying and unreliable. But even though I think that, I can't get out of my mind that there is a scene in the trailer where people are like throwing objects at Superman, that they like hate him.
Mhm.
And that's why somehow it doesn't sound completely unreasonable that such a thing would be in the movie, given James Gunn's
The only part that
quirky-
really sounds unreasonable is the monkey thing. I mean, but that almost fits his kind of like humor. But like, we live in a world where like
You mean Detective
bot
Chim?
farms.
Right. He's a quirky guy, though, James Gunn. If anybody were to make
Yeah.
monkeys doing the super shit thing, it's him. Unfortunately, I can imagine it happening. As much as it's kind of odd and stupid, I could totally see him doing it. I mean, I kept thinking to myself that James Gunn, he's good at doing those kind of quirky Suicide Squad, a bit raunchy jokes, things like that. And I wasn't sure that his style would be a good fit for Superman, if he would be able to really focus on what makes Superman Superman, and he wouldn't try to make it Suicide Squad. And everything that's being told to us now kind of gives me the feeling that he is going to do it as Suicide Squad.
Oh, really? I
Wow.
don't get that at all. But again, I've heard from different people than a lot of other people.
I hope I'm wrong. I haven't heard from anybody. I haven't seen it. I don't know anything, and I haven't even spoken to people that may have seen it. I have no knowledge of anything. My knowledge is Youth Script and My Time to Shine Hello, which is a very limited scope.
Well, I'll
but-
give you one hint. Are you guys familiar? I mean, you're all familiar with Rocky IV, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
yeah.
Well, you
Rocky
should be.
goes
They
to
should be
Russia,
teaching
and
it in.
Rocky goes to Russia, and how does Russia treat him?
Poorly.
And what happens at the end of that movie?
They
They
all
love
love
him.
him.
There you go. That's what James Gunn's trying to do here with the world and Superman.
Which is something I've heard for a while too. But we're even at a point here where, like, yeah, I'm scrolling through My Time to Shine's stuff, and I don't see anything about super shit
I mean,
anywhere.
I'm coming at this from a perspective where I have very low expectations. I don't think there's been a good Superman movie since 1980. The trailers haven't sold me, and all right, it might be good, right? But I will say that I have a bit of a preconception in that I don't really want it to date itself. And what I mean by that is I don't want to see cell phones in the movie. I don't want to be able to watch this movie and say, "Oh, hey, this takes place in this year or this kind of time."
Oh, I get that.
I would rather see this be just a kind of a timeless movie. You watch it and you don't say, "Oh, this is 1950, this is 2020." Now, if you're going to do it, you have to do it with a bit of finesse, and that's where I would get really, really worried here. I'm just not really interested in seeing what you described, Script. I'm not saying that I can't be wrong, and maybe I go and I enjoy it, but I don't want to see a movie where Superman's getting kind of hated on by, mob mentality, and then at the end of the day, they all realize they're so wrong, and he proves to the population, to be incorrect about their judgments of him, and now they all love him. Okay, I mean, it could be great. It's not really what I want to see, so I'm coming at it from that perspective where it's not really what I want.
Oh, yeah. It's also very different for a Superman story. Like, that's the other part too, right? I mean,
Yeah.
Listen, James Gunn could have given us a boilerplate Superman, either straightforward origin, stops Lex Luthor from a generic plot, akin to Superman Returns. But based on the visuals we've seen so far, the clips, even the behind the scenes stuff, he's basically swinging for the fences, and it's a big risk. I hope he pulls it off, because I'd love to see something very, very new with Superman that doesn't feel so tried and true. I want to see a little bit of the experimentation, because the experimentation is how you set a trail on fire that people want to follow. And what better way to give it a shot than with Superman? If it fails, it fails. It's not going to be the end of superhero movies. It's just going to be the end of them being positioned as tentpole films throughout the industry, until one movie that is low budget and does really well explodes at the box office, in which case then Hollywood does what Hollywood does. Any type of new genre that comes in and blows up at the box office, they are quickly there to jump on the bandwagon. I mean, we are going to get variations of Sinners coming out within the next 2 years. It's going to happen.
Probably, I believe it.
Yeah, it's because again, Ryan Coogler wrote a film, directed it quite well, a little bit too long in some parts, but every scene is really worth watching. So I can understand why it's hard to cut that down, but it was an entertaining movie, and people are going to start copying it and doing their own variations of it, probably reigniting the vampire craze, which has been dormant a little bit, despite some efforts, one including Nicholas Hoult with Nick Cage in that Dracula comedy from a few years back. That did not reignite the vampire genre, but it looks like Sinners might. And then what will follow after
Nosferatu
that?
did well.
Nosferatu did okay, but it should have done better because it should have had a longer theatrical release.
Yeah, that was
That's
on
true.
them for not having a longer theatrical release. Why they
It was
got that the streaming was really dumb.
exactly. It was so short that the time, as soon as it started to get momentum, it was yanked. It had the rug yanked out from under them, and that's a horrific choice that was done there. But like right now, we're going to get vampires. Werewolf failed with what was it? Wasn't A24? It was Blumhouse. But they'll try again once the vampires start to take foothold again, because vampires versus werewolves is
Just to
always
think they could have had Ryan Coogler make Blade.
they could have.
Instead, he went and made his own vampire movie.
No, he should have, because now he's earned the very thing a good director needs, which is the ability to challenge a producer, because he got that under his belt. Yeah,
I was just making more of a joke there than anything. But that being said, Nick, what's your feelings on this real quick before I get into my...
Well, I've never heard of this particular... Is this like a commentator, a YouTuber? Who is this?
Okay, well, My Time to Shine is supposedly a somebody who popped up on the scene a while back, has gotten a lot of notice because they had a few decent leaks, I think they started around No Way Home, if I remember right, maybe a little later, or a little bit earlier. Somebody correct me if I'm wrong. And they initially had some I think things that were correct, but like Script Doctor said, a lot of the things they've gotten right are things that just about anybody could have guessed. And or they might have an inside track at Marvel, but they are clearly a Marvel shill. That's the one thing that's obvious. And I think this might come from one of their subscribed posts, so you have to be a subscriber to get it. But now Gary is saying it out there, but I guess this is coming from a test screening person. I don't know a direct source, but I'm assuming it's probably somebody different than My Time to Shine. Hello. So that being said, so that means it's possibly, that adds some credence to it is all I was going to say. Go ahead.
Yeah. Oh man, if that is true, I mean, the idea of Lex Luthor using the term super shit seems a little bit dumbed down for something Lex Luthor would say.
It would, for what Lex Luthor would say, but not to give him plausible deniability.
And not just that, to use fucking mutant monkeys. He would just use an AI algorithm. Like, I just don't.
Yeah,
that's
like
the part that seems like the most
Lex
unbelievable.
Gorilla Island in Africa, and then conscript those gorillas to just type
all that.
I mean, or is it a setup for what's his face, the gorilla?
Gorilla Grodd and Sullivan. Yeah, you could do that. Now, here's the thing. Script nailed it earlier when he was talking about would Lex use, social media to his advantage to give a bad perception. Of course he would. This is Lex Luthor. But the thing is, I feel like him using the super shit line, that sounds like something a Z-list villain would use as an advertiser. I feel like Lex would have something a lot smarter to use.
Or more clever, yeah.
Yes, or it would be something if he were to use like something that's like a catch-all headline, hashtag type of thing. It would be bland it would be a really powerful slogan.
It would be, but here's the other part too, because I suspect that if this is true, James Gunn could be making a commentary on how low-hanging fruit social media is, because what if Lex Luthor did have a series of hashtags and the only one that stuck was super shit? Because that's not a reflection on Lex Luthor, that's a reflection on the people that troll on social media.
Yeah, and that could be. I mean, he could just say it once, like in passing or in jest.
Or it's not
that could be the thing that catches the headlines.
Well, remember, it's not him actually saying it. It's him using proxies, sock puppet accounts, all those types of things, throwing them out there. And then whatever one trends is the one he has his, quote unquote, flying monkeys gather behind to prop up and inflate its presence online. Because again, weird. Just to show you how silly social media is, since yesterday, there's been this dumb meme about 100 men fighting a gorilla. Like, it's so stupid, and yet it trends and it's popular.
I get where you're coming from.
Social media mob mentality.
And I think there's one aspect that a lot of people are not really quite thinking about, because everybody's going to the, oh, this is about him being canceled, and this is his, reaction to Trumpism.
Is going to be a huge plot point in the movie, yeah.
And it's going to be, and it's also they're also referring back to Creature Commandos, which also had a similar deal with the incels, like you brought up earlier.
Yep.
I think people are misinterpreting what this is all about, or what this whole thing is. I see where you can clearly draw the parallel, right, to him being canceled. But was he ever really canceled? As Andre points out in our video, no. So I think, and this was my theory, he's talking about fucking Snyder Bros. He's not even talking about anybody but them. Think about it for a fucking minute. Just stop for 2 seconds.
I was waiting for you to get to this. Go.
Think about it for 2 seconds. Who the fuck has been nothing but a pain in his fucking ass since this whole thing's been announced? And who's been a pain in the ass of Warner Brothers, DC, and anybody else who's fucking rounded by this shit? And I'm not talking about the Snyder fans. I'm talking about the direct Snyder bros who just cannot let this shit go, who are constantly hashtagging shit, who are constantly bombarding Warner Brothers and James Gunn and Safran and everybody else involved with this shit since day one. Right? Can anybody just stop for a second and see that as possibly maybe where he got this idea from?
Yes.
Now, I'm not saying it makes it any fucking better.
No.
But it does take away this idea that he's all this anti-Trump, anti-fucking incel this, or he's calling us all in. No, I think he's directing his ire at one specific group.
Yes.
And that's it.
Well,
that's just my hunch.
It's a good hunch because, as I
could be wrong.
Watch his Suicide Squad. He is making fun of all the cool stuff all the stuff that Snyder thinks is cool, and showing how pathetic it is. Like, the bad guys are going through that camp. They're just shooting.
I still don't think it's a good excuse, but yeah.
Yeah. But they're shooting everybody in that camp, trying to rescue Rick Flag. And then at the end, they realize, oh, these were the guys who were supposed to be partnering up with to go against, the regime. Like, you prove that they're idiots. Like, you did all this cool stuff, but you didn't actually take into account of what it actually means or how it plays out. That's very funny. And that's exactly what, James Gunn was doing, is mocking that Snyder approach. The other aspect too is, like, if James Gunn were to be canceled, it would have come from the left, like the far crazy cancel culture left. But as you guys,
he got canceled by Disney, right? Like, it was Alan Horn and those guys who basically fired him. Yeah,
remember, it was Alan Horn, and then him doing so pissed off Bob Iger and Kevin Feige, because James Gunn was their golden goose at that point. He was going to be overseeing the cosmic side of.
But the left also set the precedent, right? Like, and that was the whole point that I think people were trying to make by digging up his old tweets.
Oh yeah, right? Exactly.
Because there was a ton of other edgy tweets that he did that people didn't bring up. They just brought up a specific group, let's say.
Exactly.
And I'm not giving him an excuse. I'm just saying that's what it was.
That's 100% right. He did that to get the attention, and then it bit him back in the ass by way of, like, the people that were opposite cancel culture trying to, put a target on him to make him bleed. The only person that fell for it was Alan Horn. He fired Gunn. And then when Iger and Feige realized that there's nothing they could really do about that without kind of bringing on the ire of a certain political group, they let it slide. But then they quietly fired Alan Horn as a result. And then the moment Alan Horn was fired, and after James Gunn had got his contract with Warner Brothers, they were able to open up negotiations with James Gunn to complete the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy, and then separate it all. Like, if James Gunn were actually canceled, it would have come from the left, because they would have just piled on him until he was done. But
that's what I'm saying. How could it really have affected him all that much in the end of the day, when he basically got to tell his story with Guardians of the Galaxy?
Yep.
He got to come over to DC, and now he's the head of DC Films.
Mm-hmm.
He's controlling everything like a puppet master, and he's clearly an egotistical bastard, because that's one thing I will fucking say. He needs to back off.
That's what concerns me right now. Because
he needs to quit making it about him, right?
But think of the parallel, right? Here's a guy who he lost his job. The core fan group that loved him for his Guardians movie plus the cast rallied behind him. He then persevered at the end, and now he's the head of the studio. That sounds like a very parallel to the Superman who he's well beloved by a small knit group on Earth. He's going through this type of social backlash, but then at the end, he ends up becoming Superman, the greatest superhero on the planet at the end. And there's definitely a self-insert aspect you could probably draw a parallel to, and I would not be surprised if that is the case.
Yeah.
But it follows a good beat structure with regards to a hero's journey and an arc. And one thing that James Gunn's really good at is he knows how to make connections with people. He draws from his own experiences. He's also, I think the reason of his main success is that he reads a lot. Like this guy, he reads a lot, where Zack Snyder reads heavy metal on the toilet, thinking that it's thinking it's profound, but completely missing what the points of those stories are. So yeah, I think there's some layers to this, but I think one of the issues that's going on with social media is that there's an embellishment as to how big of a moment this kind of hashtag could be in the story. And they're basically saying, well, this is the make or break. This is the straw that broke the camel's back because of a hashtag. And I think that's kind of silly.
And you were going to say something, CC. I wanted to hear what your thoughts were, because speaking of self-insert while you're giving us your thoughts.
What I'm hoping for here is some emotional depth to the story. Like, I want Superman to have to actually struggle with the morality of his decisions, right? I mean, I don't want it to be completely black and white in the sense that he's doing good and it's an obviously good act. I want him to actually have to struggle with whether what he is doing is actually for the greater good or whether it's more harmful. When the imperative for him is obviously to help people no matter what, right? It just feels a little bit too bare bones bottom if the antagonist in this situation is online trolls. And well, they deserve love, so I got to help them. That's the moral, high ground, and that's Superman, and we all feel good about it. And society decides they love him because he helped the people that were hating on him. It's just not the deepest way to go about that. I'd much rather see a situation that's, like he needs to save somebody, like maybe like a more personal situation, a one-on-one thing where he needs to save somebody. Because that is the imperative. That is Superman. He's going to save somebody, whether that person is good or bad. He should save the villain, right? Not kill them.
Yeah. He also saves a squirrel.
Yeah, exactly. But what are the consequences of that? And if you do that with a good level of depth and thoughtfulness to it, it can be really, really emotionally impactful, right? But if you get too much like into that other aspect you're talking about, Gunn and his ego and just trying to deliver a message on his recent experiences, I don't think it's going to land very well. It's just like, trolls are hating on Superman, but Superman is, it's his imperative to help everybody no matter what. So he's going to he's going to help the people that hated on him online. Yay. Okay.
Because I agree with what you're saying, CC. Like Lex, the monkey thing and the whole thing of the super shit thing. And I get it, what everybody's saying, but even he would have been smarter to go about. And I said this was one of the fundamental problems of Batman v Superman. It's easy as hell to turn the world against Superman.
Yeah.
And Lex knows this. All you got to do is paint him as another. All you got to do is say he is not just an immigrant, he is an alien, right? He is an alien from another planet who could take us out anytime he wants. And you just put that idea in people's heads. That's the idea that keeps Batman up at night sometimes, Like, I mean, that's what I said. That was an easy way that Lex could get Batman thinking about this and going, yeah, this guy could be an enemy at any moment in time. Maybe we should just take him out now, like just eliminate the problem. And that's the kind of way I think Lex would approach this thing. He would have treated it like that and turn people against him in the sense that this guy's an alien. He's not one of us. And not only that, maybe a lot of the shit that's happening in the world is because he's here. And you can also put that idea in people's heads. And then especially if you have the Green Lanterns coming in and saying, hey, dude, you need to settle the fuck down. Especially if that's what's true. We heard about what the intro is kind of them putting a clamp down on him a little bit for, the shit that happens in the earlier part of the film with, I think, the kaiju or whatever. Yeah. I mean, that's another reason why. I mean, he has more than enough reasons to do it that this super shit thing just doesn't seem to like, why would it even be there? Like, why does it even matter? It seems so...
I think that it might be as passive as when they mention the word Gotham in one of the in the Batman Forever or in Superman Returns. Like that's the level I would have suspected.
And even if it was there, I don't think it would bother Superman. That's the thing. It's not something that would even really bother him. He'd just be like,
I don't believe that. I don't believe the bothering part of this rumor. I can believe that there's the hashtag for it. I don't think it's what gets under his skin. I think what gets under his skin is the stuff that's face to face with him and people. Like he saves someone and then they throw a coffee in his face. You know, kind of like, you know, how in The Incredibles, where Mr. Incredible saves that guy who tried to commit suicide, and then the guy sues him, saying like, I didn't want to live. And it's absurd and silly, but it's something that you can definitely.
It makes sense though with that, because that you can't. People are crazy like that. They are absolutely crazy like that. Even when you do the right thing, sometimes you still lose. And I can see that as well with Superman. He has to get this world to. He has to really prove himself to this world, and that could be a bunch of this movie. Is him proving to himself, I am like you guys. I am one of you. I am genuinely here to help. And maybe by a movie's end, he will have won over the people of Metropolis.
And rather than seeing that person he saves throw coffee in his face, I'd rather see the person he saves go and harm somebody else. And then he has to deal with the consequences of how that chain reaction occurred and how that comes back to him.
That would be interesting too. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I can see it as something more mentioned in passing in the story, but I don't know. This just all seems weird. I mean, I trust Gary might know another source on this. That's the only reason I'm actually
he most likely
giving it any credibility at this point. But I don't know. This is just one of those things where I think we've hit the end of the road. I keep saying James Gunn is selling this movie wrong. He should be using this guy, getting him out there, because one of the biggest problems he has facing this, besides the Snyder Bros, even if that is his reason behind this, is the fact that you have the normies also asking, why not Henry Cavill? Well, that's where you need to convince them that this guy is going to be fine, right? Yeah. Show all the nerdy videos of him. Show him being a goofball. Show him hanging out with his chemistry with Brosnahan, or however you say your name.
Yeah.
Right? Like, yeah. I mean, that to me will sell this movie better than anything James Gunn is doing right now, making it all about James Gunn, because all you're doing is just making the problem worse.
He's making the problem worse regarding like us being able to get to know these people that are playing these roles.
Well, and he's giving fuel to the Snyder Bros.
He's also saving them from the fact that if this movie fails, nobody's going to remember the cast or blame the cast. They're going to blame it all on James Gunn.
That's a good point.
Well, he's going to get blamed either way. That's what I'm saying. Because like the Snyder Bros, he's just feeding the trolls. He's like
he's more upfront to face the music. He's willing to be the guy who walks the minefield for it.
Yeah, like he's basically saying like, if this fails, I want all the negative attention on me and not these people.
Well, like I said, unless he intends it or not, that's what's going to happen. Because you know me, I've been a cheerleader for this movie. I was one of the first people, if not the first person, to break that Warner Brothers was courting James Gunn to take over the DC universe or DC film thing, and that was before anybody else was even considering that thing as an option. Right? This is when everybody else was still talking about Snyder this and, you know, the prior regime.
Oh yeah.
I'm like, no, things are moving on. Yeah. I'm like, things are moving the fuck on, and nobody would listen. And that's where Andre is correct in his video he put out today, in that the whole reason they announced that, and I was told they announced it the way they did, is so they could try to tell them Snyder Bros to back the fuck off. Because here's the thing you guys need to understand, and I'm not talking about all the Snyder fans. You can like the Snyder movies and not be a prick. There was a group of people who were doxing, who were making threats, who were making it a living hell for tons of people inside Warner Brothers and DC for no good fucking reason. Because a lot of the people that were even responsible for a lot of the shit that had to do with Zack Snyder weren't even in the fucking building anymore.
Yep. They were.
So you had a lot of innocent people that were taking. Sorry, I just want to say you had a lot of innocent people taking a lot of shit from a lot of very aggressive people, mostly males. So unfortunately, a lot of these groups have earned the ire they have gotten. Now, I still don't think it should be in the fucking movie. That to me is showing how thin-skinned and egotistical James Gunn really is, if it's true. And that to me gives me pause, because I thought he was better than that. I hope I'm wrong, and that's the way it is. But yeah, go ahead.
It all depends, because you can do that in a very thin-skinned way, or you can do that where you're making fun of it. And
I'm somebody who can get, you know, fucking upset easily, right? So I know how it is, and I'm not going to deny that. But Anyway, I don't know if anybody else has anything more to say about this price. I know you've been kind of quiet. I don't know if there was anything more you had to add or.
No, I mean, I said what I thought, that I have always been worried about James Gunn for Superman. I think that there's certain movies that he could do well. He did the Guardians of the Galaxy well. He did the Suicide Squad or whatever his sequel was. I thought that was fine. I think that there's certain types of humor and movies that he's capable of. I have yet to see that he can make a movie that is a little more, I don't know, wholesome or has a little more heart to it, like Superman. Not sure he could do it. I've had little faith in him from day one. I don't have much faith in him now. I still want it to be a good movie, but the more I hear about it, the more I see about it, it's not giving me that impression. So that's where I'm at.
I guess the only thing I'd add, you mentioned not taking credit for actions. I guess you were talking about James Gunn specifically, but I kind of like that for Superman. And whether James Gunn would have the depth to bring that in, or whether he's going to get a little too light with it. The idea that maybe Superman does save a lot of people. He does do, the great thing, and nobody really knows that it was him, right? And so he doesn't actually gain that redemption in the eyes of the people at the end, but he still did it, right? He did it because it was the right thing to do, not just to
not
get
for
people to
attention.
Like him.
Yeah.
So I could see that
never
being
does anything for
Yeah.
attention. That's the thing, right? Like he doesn't care about the attention. He just cares that he did something good.
Well,
which is why I don't think his character would actually be ever affected by social media hashtags.
That's what I was thinking. Yeah.
So like I'm kind of with Price on this. I don't know if I believe that Gunn is going to have the finesse to pull this off. I mean, I don't think he's a bad filmmaker per se. I just, I'm skeptical,
Well, he's going to prove whether or not he was ready yet or not. That's where I'm at.
Only a couple months away.
Yeah. Nick, did you have anything more to say? You've been pretty quiet.
No, well, you guys really covered the bases, so
now this was kind of a storyline.
I'm taking with a pinch of salt. We'll see what happens.
Now, comic book wise, Nick, though, wasn't this a storyline kind of like in like one of the Superman, All-Star Superman or something like that? Whichever one it was.
It seems like this movie's I can't remember this particular element
was. All seasons, I think, for all seasons.
Yeah, I was gonna say maybe for all season. Thank you, script. You beat me to it. I was like, I don't call this an All-Star, but yeah, maybe for all season. So it's been longer since I've read for all seasons, which I liked, by the way. I thought that was outstanding. I'm definitely gotta brush up for that in time for this movie, because I know James Gunn apparently took a lot of influence from For All Seasons for this. So once again,
the other one they said was true. The other one they said in the chat was, "What's so funny about Truth, Justice,
and the American Way?" Yep,
yeah,
that's another one.
Is that one?
Superman Birthright is also another one, because that's where Lex Luthor kind of manipulates drones into looking like Kryptonian ships to invade Metropolis. No, there's lots. I mean, heck, I mentioned it on the Film Threat stream yesterday. There's an episode of Lois and Clark called "The Man of Steel Bars," where Lex Luthor tricks all of Metropolis into thinking that Superman using his powers is causing a global warming event in Metropolis, but it's really just his new nuclear power plant leaking and boiling into the aquifer underneath that's causing it to be, summer in December.
All right. Well, with that, let's move on from here, because we do have another Superman story. And Kalekioki sends in $2 to say they're trying to drown this movie with negative press. That's my problem.
Yeah.
Is I am so skeptical of anything that comes out about this movie because of all the bullshit that I don't know what to believe anymore.
Yeah, it's hard, especially when you have we have our preconceived notions, but I like to think that us gentlemen on a panel, we at least have a bit more of an open mind, whereas there are some people that are going to rip on it just because it's not Zack Snyder's DC. No matter, so they're just going to go after it no matter what. And I feel like we have all on this panel, we have shared out, with the trailers, what we've liked, what we didn't like. Not everything is everything is bad, everything is disastrous.
I thought Henry Cavill was good casting for Superman, and I'm not convinced that this guy is better.
Well, and that's
any action part of the problem, right? Like I said that.
Yeah. They're not shown anything of him
around. They could have told Zack Snyder. There were a lot of different things that could have been done here. But let's say they were so hot to get rid of Snyder, they could have still kept Cavill as Superman. I don't think that James Gunn made the right decisions from the second that he became the head of DC or co-head of DC.
Well,
I don't think he made the right decision.
The problem is James Gunn was never going to have Henry Cavill in this movie because people need to understand that his Superman started out like the Batman, right?
Yeah.
Like there was still this opportunity that Henry Cavill was going to stick around. That was a totally different thing happening somewhere else prior to James Gunn deciding to take over DC. Once he decided to take over DC, that's when his Superman became the de facto Superman.
I don't think there should have been separate 7 Supermans to begin with.
I agree with you, but that was DC trying to do their thing and have their cake and eat it too, or whatever.
And I'm sorry, I know that Warner Brothers, I think Zaslav has made some good decisions, and I think that he runs a studio not terribly compared to some other people or some other studios.
Well, he's the one who said we need to come up with this unified thing. This fucking separate bullshit is not going to work.
It's all true, but the bottom line is that I still think that rehiring Cavill so seemingly and then firing him was really, really dumb. They didn't have to work with Snyder. There was a way. I'm not saying they needed 70 more movies with that cast of people, but I think people liked the cast. It wasn't the casting that was the problem there. There was something with the writing and the movies and the creative direction. So I think that there was still something you could do and hit the ground running. And instead, he took 7 years to make this Superman movie, and I'm not even sure it's going to be any good. It's not that I don't want it to be good. I'm just not sure it's going to be any good.
I don't disagree with you, but that's where I bring up the point if he needs to start selling this movie on corn sweat, right? Like, that's the problem he has right here. Instead of making it James Gunn's Superman, because that's what everybody's calling it now, it should just be fucking Superman, because it would technically be the first time we've ever had a movie called Superman. I know people are like, what about the Christopher Reeve movie is technically called Superman, the movie.
Yep.
People need to remember that. So we've never actually had a movie just called Superman. And so he needs to sell it on that idea instead of making it James Gunn's Superman. That's the problem. And this is coming from somebody who's been rooting for him since day one to do this right. And now I'm getting to the point where I'm like, dude, whoever is giving you the ideas for marketing, if it's just you, then you need a marketing person, and it's not anybody who's at Warner Brothers. That's for goddamn sure. Get the Barbie people in there or something. Get the Deadpool people in there. I don't give a shit. Like, just anybody but whoever's telling you to do what you're doing to sell this on you is telling you the wrong things. But that's neither here nor there. We need to move on because there's another Superman story here. And I wanted to say to Jeremiah Hembry, if he's still listening, I'm not quite sure which movie you were just talking about yet. I will come back around to it, but I just wanted to double check to make sure. Just go ahead and send a chat in. You don't have to send in another super chat. One of our mods will grab it if I don't see it. But yeah, I just want to make sure we address that. And I do see your other super chat action com. We'll come back around to that as well. But we had a story that we actually covered here a while back, now has a ruling. So this is kind of a quick story, but I just thought it was interesting because we will follow it up because we brought it up before. But Warner Brothers wins their ruling in the Superman copyright case, clearing the path for the new film's release. For those who don't remember, the Schuster estate, I think it says Schuster here.
Schuster doesn't have any descendants, though.
It was the Schuster estate argued that under copyright law, countries like Canada, the United States, Ireland, or the United Kingdom, not United States. Yeah, and Australia, Warner Brothers, and DC Comics no longer held valid rights to Superman in those regions. Because as far as I know, the Siegel family has already had their stuff.
They got it addressed prior to Man of Steel, and I think one of their grandkids is in the new Superman movie.
Yeah, so that's where we were confused before, and then I found that's where it appears that it was the other family that's suing. That was trying to sue them to stop them from blocking the movie from being released, but it was thrown out. Judge Jesse Furman dismissed the lawsuit, ruling that federal courts lack authority to decide claims based solely on foreign copyright laws. So
yeah, they did the dumb thing by actually making this lawsuit in the United States, where if they did it in Canada and the other countries, it would have had a little bit of merit, but it would have all at the end of the day just been a payout.
Yeah, so I just thought that was kind of in related news there.
It is related because technically speaking, Warner Brothers is a Canadian company. It was started by a Canadian family. It was founded in Canada and it relocated to Hollywood, but it is still technically registered under a Canadian incorporation.
As we talk about time and time again, this actually segues nicely into this next story since we got a few more minutes with you. I'll grab your feelings on this, and I'm sure the panel may have a thought or two on this. Especially Price. filming in Canada is actually more prevalent than it is in Hollywood anymore, as we've talked about before. But now LA is set to become a little easier to film in after City Council passes motion to reduce some red tape. So I don't know if this is affecting you at all, Script Doctor, or anybody else out there, but sounds like making mid-budget movie or TV series just got a little bit easier in Los Angeles. The City Council on Tuesday passed a motion that reduces onerous regulations and permitting, as well as other unnecessary fees, inconsistent safety requirements. So
it's technically rolled back the old COVID stuff.
Okay.
And I'm learning a little bit more about this. So far, it hasn't changed any bookings that's going on up here or in Georgia or in the UK. But it is trying to streamline some of the bureaucracy to make it more favorable to shoot in LA, because everybody lost their homes in the Palisades, and a lot of them were actors and writers and people of crew. And productions need to be moving along a lot faster. And the less red tape you have, the faster those productions move, which means the faster those people get paid, they get back to work, and they're able to rebuild. So this is it's not bad. It's one step in the right direction. There's still a lot more that needs to be cut away.
But this is also part of what Trump was trying to get done with the whole thing where he brought on the ambassadors of Mel Gibson and
John Voight, and yeah,
because that was the whole point of that, was to try and bring productions back to Hollywood.
Yes, and actually it'd be great to do it, but Hollywood can only do so much on their end. The rest comes to legislation on the municipal and states level. So yeah, you got to get rid of the mayor of LA for starters. Got to get rid of Newsom. Got to get some fresh blood in there that are willing to actually sacrifice their own advantages being in political positions in California so that the state can actually rebound and survive. Because I mean, a fun fact is that people, and generally speaking, and people in the United States like Canada more than they like California. And California wishes it could be Canada. And it's quite silly that that's kind of a relationship that's spawned.
There's also another problem, in my opinion, is that there's been things have been so annoying, I guess, for a lot of productions to work in LA, that they've looked around, and even beyond Canada, which has always been a cheaper option, like Toronto and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have situations. I've seen movies that they went to Hungary to film. They like going to Hungary to film now. I've seen it a few times recently, very recently, like movies.
It used to be Romania and Italy back in the day too, yeah.
Right, but now they love Hungary. I don't know whatever incentives they're offering there. And the other thing is that like Novocaine, if I remember correctly, it's supposed to take place in California, yet they filmed it in South Africa of all places, which is really baffling. But I guess it was worth it for them. And then Hungary. They did the movie, that Death of a Unicorn one that I saw recently. That was also, if I'm not mistaken, filmed in Hungary, also supposedly taking place in LA or in California or something like that, I think. So it's kind of strange that these places, instead of actually using the actual Hollywood, the actual California, actual Los Angeles, which would be the natural location for this, they're going anywhere else that's willing to give them all these credits. And the movies that I mentioned were made on much smaller budgets.
Yeah, well, I mean, the U.S. dollar stretches a lot further in Hungary and South Africa. On top of that, their banks are a lot more generous when applying for loans, lines of credit, and then, of course, tax credits for those regions as well, because they're developing. So Hungary has expanded a little bit, having a lot more modern cities, which some can pass for LA these days, which is actually very lucrative for that country. And the same thing apparently is happening with South Africa. I know Australia has actually revamped a couple of their places on the East Coast to get more filming done to pass for the United States. Just because right now Australia has a tax credit that's, I think, like 30 to 60% back. So it makes it really, really lucrative. Like, you go spend $100 million there, you're going to get like between $30 and $60 million in tax credits back, which makes your total room to spend $160 million, even though you only physically spent $100 million. It's pretty sweet deal over there if you can get financing for that. So yes, I completely agree that like it would be great if we could film stuff more regularly in California. But one of the things is a lot of the studio lots have shrunk down over the last 40 years, which means that if you are going to shoot in an LA area or the region of LA, you're shutting down parts of neighborhoods, and locals hate that because everybody's trying to get back to work on another movie, and they have to. It kills part of their commute time, which is already bad enough as it is, because another production is shooting in a neighborhood they have to get through or drive around. So that's another issue as well. One of the things that bothers me is their alternative is to use LiDAR and the volume to basically scan a neighborhood during a slow period and then go on a backlot and shoot that way. So actors have to imagine a lot more in their scene than what they would do if it was all in camera. And it also comes with a higher expense, but faster turnaround time because you don't have to wait 4 or 5 hours to set up a public location and convert it over to a set with a video village. You just go onto the back lot. You get 3 or 4 takes done in a day, as opposed to 1 or 2 from a live location. And then you've ended up saving yourself, a ton of time at the expense of a lot of cash.
All right. Well, anybody else got anything to say about this?
I got nothing.
Makes me think about food.
Yeah, I mean, you guys have kind of covered it pretty well. I figured you two would have it pretty dicked when it came to that. Got any more time, or are you out of time now?
I've got a few more minutes because I just got sometimes you guys might hear a ding on my end because that's my network that I'm talking with, and they've said that 15 minutes.
All right. So while we got a few more minutes here, let's talk about this Rock movie that Jeremiah was asking about. So what it looks like is he's playing Mark Kerr, however you say it. In of course it plays as some other thing now. The Rock steps into the ring in an official trailer for the Smashing Machine, an A24 release for the upcoming biopic. Now let's see if we can find the trailer here. Maybe if I refresh it. No, I don't want to play some ad. All right, well, let's see if I can find the trailer quick, and then we'll check this out.
Yes, show us.
All right. Was A24 the same company that put out that movie, the wrestling movie?
The Queen of the Ring, or the one about the Von Erichs?
The Von Erichs one.
Could be. I
think they did
into it, but that would sound plausible.
For some reason, I think they did.
Considering that TKO owns
Probably looking at
WWE and UFC.
Yeah, for some reason, I think they did.
Probably looking at my eyes.
How did that happen?
Well, have you ever heard of the Ultimate Fighting Championship, the UFC?
That's the bloody thing they're trying to ban.
This guy is the best he has ever seen.
Do you hate each other when you fight?
Absolutely not.
How do you know Mark Kerr?
Oh, we go way back. But he's a buddy of mine.
Come on, baby. Too much?
Never.
Too much?
No.
Please welcome in his Octagon debut, Mark Kerr!
Winning is the best feeling there is. It's 40,000 people, and they're cheering you on. There's no other high like it in the world. No contract, no money?
No money.
Do you have any stronger pain medication?
Advil?
Advil?
Yeah.
Dawn, would you like
No.
They're handing them out like candy. Let's all get in. Everybody get in. Hey, Don, can you take this picture for us?
Yeah.
What are you thinking at the beginning of the fight?
It's simple. Am I going to hurt him before he hurts me?
I'm sure
This Grand Prix to crown the greatest fighter in the world. Here's
come back from the brink. Let's see if he can pull out a victory over Mark Coleman. Have you spoken to either about finding such a good friend for a life-changing amount of money?
I faced it all.
I just need you to let me in.
I took the bull.
Always about you. Only about finding you.
Let's fucking go. My big strong man, I love you.
Looks
We
interesting.
can
It's
want
about
your autograph.
Sure, no problem.
pretty much
No
like
fighting.
any other biopic.
Yeah.
Not bad.
The Rock
think
wants
looks like
to be
he might be
recognized
act-
as a real actor. He's really,
Yeah.
really pushing into movies. He's going to be in a Scorsese movie. He's doing this one. Like, he wants people to say, "Oh, The Rock's a serious actor."
But the trailer doesn't make him look that bad.
It didn't look
I
bad.
will
It didn't
say
look
that
bad.
they pulled off. I can't believe how much he actually was trying to transform for the Mark Kerr look. Holy crud!
Well, that's the thing. He doesn't look like The Rock in the trailer very much.
And
There's a
that's
couple of
good.
moments where I get a little bit of a hint of it, but he does actually look like somebody else, and that's probably a good sign.
I'm curious about it. I'll probably go check it out when it comes out. I wonder if there'll be someone who will play Dana White in it. Or will Dana White just play himself, assuming he's even in it?
All right. Well, actually, I think with that, let's see what ActionCom had to say. Here you go. Script looking at Sydney Sweeney's schedule and setting aside how crowded it is. What direction is she taking with her career?
Oh, she's getting as many acting roles under her belt while she's expanding her production because she's going to be going into being a producer and director. I think her target is before she hits 40. She wants to be an established producer and director. So we're going to see a lot of her for a while. Yeah.
I don't know if that producer director gig is going to work out, but I would assume that as long as people are offering her big checks now, this is the time to collect them. I'm not saying that there's, I'm going to be very careful here because I don't know how to say what I'm going to say. How do I say this nicely? There's sort of a shelf life, in terms of looking really good.
Yeah, that's why she's getting into production. That's why Anyone But You, even the last 3 films she's been in, she's been a producer of. So she's earning her cred right now.
I mean, that is smart if she can pull it off. I don't think she's dumb. She doesn't give me the impression she's dumb, even though she has she may go for that kind of persona because of her looks, but she doesn't strike me as stupid. So I'm not saying she can't do it, but I think it is smart now to just collect as many checks as possible.
Yeah,
you're not always going to be the it lady forever, and that's not even just a sexist thing or an ageist thing or anything. It's like if you're a young man and you look good and the ladies like you, there's also a certain amount of time that you need to collect a lot of checks in, and I think that's what she needs to do as well.
Well, she's been doing that for the last 3 years, so we'll see how that. It looks like she's already built the pattern, so. Even if she does, hit the proverbial wall and goes away, she's still going to be making stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's a wise decision. That's if she can pull it off, good for her.
No, listen, I know a ton of actors who were beautiful and big in their heyday, and they stuck with acting and they never learned anything else. And now they're not acting anymore. They're actually teaching acting classes. So,
yes, that happens sometimes. I mean, it happens to people that are not actors. Like, you're always going to be more cool when you're in your 20s and looking pretty decent and everybody kind of likes you. And then later when you're kind of just...
Yeah, you become yesterday's software.
Yesterday's news. Yeah, that's what we are. That's what the panel is.
Exactly.
We're the Midnight's yesterday news crew. Except for Tom, of course.
Oh, what I do now?
Nothing.
I didn't do it. I didn't do nothing. That's right. All right. With that, let's get
all the hair.
Let's get out of here because Nick actually is going to talk about Young Guns tonight. I couldn't believe it. You've never seen it before.
Ooh.
I know. I was for the first time in a long time I was virginized for a movie, and Yeah, I watched it. I watched it twice. I can really soak it in, especially that third act. Third act was fucking crazy. So looking forward to talk about it on Toxic Tuesday in a little over an hour. So it should be fun.
Right.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. It's good to hang out with you and the dudes. Good to see Script joining us once more. And I hope to see his face more often when he can. But yeah, come hang out with us in a little over an hour. It's gonna be huge.
I don't have a face.
He's faceless.
Oh, I see your face. Anyways.
Yeah, I'm hoping to be able to come back more regularly soon. Things have just been picking up because we're entering into the next phase of production season. So, that gets a little
Are you
busy.
tasting colors again, Nick?
He could. He's all in black. He's got to get color input somewhere.
I mean, he's probably that fucked up. I don't know.
I am blacker than the blackest black times infinity.
How much more black could you be? None.
He's almost blacker than Chris Farley's black belt in Beverly Hills Ninja.
Speaking of none more black, did you guys see that Spinal Tap is getting a re-release in theaters before the sequel?
Ooh,
Not
smart move.
surprised. I'll probably go see that.
All right. Price, you got a show coming up later on tonight.
Yes, at 11:45 p.m. Eastern, there's the Night Owl with myself and Professor R2, so you should check it out. And
Awesome sauce.
yeah, I'll put the link to my live stream channel again. I'm trying to get to 1,000 on that one, and most people, even that watch it, don't actually subscribe to it because they're subscribed to my other one.
Right.
Just
Yeah, I know how that is.
It's so simple. I know it sounds annoying because people are like, "What am I gonna subscribe to 2 channels?" And it's like it would really, really help if you did. I feel like a lot to ask these days.
Well, I just think some people don't realize that it's 2 channels more so, but yeah, like with Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark, that's a big like because a lot of times even people call Midnight's Edge After Dark.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So,
Yeah, I've been getting that now because I have 2 channels, and people are like, "Oh, I didn't
speaking of,
realize
go
these
ahead,
are 2
CC,
different
and plug
channels."
it. Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
well, I
it's-
rebooted my channel, but I also created a new channel called CC Karaoke X, and of course, I'm running into that same thing where it's like people are like, "Oh, I didn't realize this was from CC Karaoke X and not from CC Karaoke." So, yeah, the challenge is real, but it's going.
And
well
I don't
so
make
far.
things easier by the fact that it's like the same. It looks like the same avatar, only it's like a different color in the background.
Yeah, that's what I do.
So I can understand the confusion, but if anybody feels like subscribing, always very helpful. I just shared it.
Please do to all these gentlemen. And Script also does shows on Saturdays usually.
Yes, yeah. This Saturday we're reviewing a screenplay that is Indecent Proposal meets Body Swap. Science fiction, thriller sort of, or at least so they tell me. We'll find out on Saturday if it's actually a good thriller or not. We've had a decent streak so far with the script, and Price gets to come on every once in a while. We always love having him around there. And CC, if you got all settled, it would be lovely to have you back as well. And then I've got I have some things in store for Tom. So
it's a great show, by the way, and it's I don't see anybody else doing it, so I always like being on it. I'm like the Steve Martin. Am I like a 5-time, a 6-time? Like I feel like I've been.
Yes.
You know how each time that he's like in the honorary VIP club of hosts in SNL. So that's what I'm like on Script's channel on this show, and it's awesome. I really recommend it. And if you're not subscribed to him, you should do it immediately.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Yeah, we're episode 70 is this week. So yes, there's a lot of stuff. And it's one of the things I like about the show is that if you ever wonder, like, man, Hollywood has no original writers. Well, I've got 70 I can show you right now. That, these are very different scripts by people, passionate about their story or
I mean, if I say it, I don't mean it that way. I mean that the studios aren't interested in them, but yeah. But I don't think I've ever said it.
The thing
that
is, the
way
studios
either.
are only interested in them when enough celebrities or producers get interested in them. And a few of them are actually going to be turned into movies, such as Madden with Nick Cage. And then there's also How to Save a Marriage with Robert Pattinson. He's going to be doing that as well. That's also a body swap film. Body swaps seem to be the new time loop, which is also like the new time travel, which is also like the new alien invasion. Like that. Listen, that's just the way the market kind of goes.
Comes and goes in cycles, I guess.
Various cycles, yeah.
Well, almost like a. Well, I'm not even going to get into that.
It's like poetry. It rhymes. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll put it that way instead. It's less
I think
gross.
I know what you meant, but I'll pretend that I didn't know what you meant.
I usually avoid cycles. Just saying. That being said, thanks for everybody being here and appreciate it. And the super chats and the support and the mods for all your help. For the panel, Script for being able to make it for once. That's also fun.
Yeah, I'm so
thank
happy
you
I
for
was
that.
able to come in.
All right. And with that, we're going to get on out of here. Let's take care of yourself, guys. We'll see you on the next show.